Hi everyone, sorry this is my second take of doing this video. If you'd like to check out my daily readings, you can check out Empress Justice Tarot on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. You can also check out my lunar readings on Instagram and YouTube, Empress Justice Tarot. I've also done a tiny little full moon reading essay on Hasta, just briefly talking about Hasta's qualities. I'll link that in the description in YouTube. You can check that out. Update on me. Neighbors ain't doing anything new. They're just doing the same shit. What I really want to talk about today is this. There's UK plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. Now, the obvious reason why people are angry with this is because of how racist it is, first of all. And of course they needed a brown woman to be able to sanction this shit, because if it was a white person, it would have been dead on arrival. So of course they needed a brown person to enact this obviously racist plan. So that's the first thing that first problem that people have with it. The second problem that people have with it is that Boris Johnson himself condemned human rights abuses or human rights standards in Rwanda in 2013. So the Prime Minister himself had declared Rwanda a country that has a poor human rights record, and yet you're about to send black and brown refugees over there. And let's be real, you're sending black and brown refugees over there while you're paying people to house Ukrainians. Everybody can see what's going on. Everybody can see the racism in it. So what Britain is doing is ultimately recruiting Ukrainian people. The UK is ultimately recruiting Ukrainian people, like on the low. They're not going to let Ukraine join NATO, but they are going to annex Ukrainian refugees, make them a part of Britain, and make them fulfill Britain's agenda of engaging in a second Holocaust. So, I know it's a strong thing to say, but I mean, you know, and I'm oversimplifying it. I know I'm oversimplifying it. But that, in my opinion, is what is taking place right now. So there is quite clearly a Holocaust going on. It's been going on for a few decades. It's actually been going on for a few decades. It's not just a few years. But there's quite clearly a Holocaust going on. And people still ain't twigged yet. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how have people not twigged what's going on? And then on top of that, it's not even just Rwanda. David Cameron visited Jamaica trying to build super prisons over there. So you can already see a pattern forming of, this is the one thing I didn't anticipate though. What I didn't anticipate was black and brown refugees being sent to Rwanda. That's what I didn't anticipate. I didn't anticipate them being sent out of the country, but I did anticipate borders closing. Yeah, I did anticipate borders closing. I did anticipate racism growing as a result of dwindling economic resources. I did anticipate that the racism would be more open. So all of this I anticipated. I just didn't see how racism could be continued in this country. And then, yeah, I didn't see it, but like, I get it now. This is how they're doing it. And then as for undesirables born in this country, or UK born or white undesirables, what they're doing with them is increasingly they're locking up people in mental health institutions, and they're starting with the homeless. In a bid to make it look humane, they're starting with the homeless, saying that homelessness is caused by mental health issues, when we all know damn well that that is not the case. Sure, there are some people who end up homeless because of mental health issues, but then there are people who end up homeless simply because they couldn't pay their fucking bills. They couldn't pay their bills. They were swallowed in debt because, you know, they just didn't have a way out. They just didn't have the, you know, the financial means to get themselves out of debt. It happens to everybody. With some people, it gets so bad, they have nowhere to live. That is like literally People ain't always on the street because they're addicts or they're mentally ill. Some people literally can't afford the fucking housing. So in a bid to try to make themselves look humane, what the Tories have done is they've said, okay, we're going to round up homeless people into mental health institutions, and we're not going to make the distinction between those who actually need medication and those who do not. So that's what they're doing with UK undesirables, what they're doing with citizen undesirables. And then, of course, there's the neglect of the elderly, but that's going to be another conversation for another time. The deliberate neglect of the elderly, the deliberate neglect of black citizens in hospitals, all of this adds up. All of it adds up. It's happening right in front of everybody's faces. It's been happening in front of everybody's faces, but nobody wants to acknowledge it. Everybody just wants to go about their daily business, go to work, come home, spend time with the family, watch TV, go to sleep. Nobody gives a fuck about how the world is operating. And I'm not judging. I'm the same too. I'm a human being, but I mean, this is what happens when we place convenience over the truth. People get killed. People get killed, or people get exported to countries that, like, oh my gosh. Yeah. And gang stalking and this unlawful experimentation into long-range acoustic devices and directed energy weaponry and fucking psychotronic weaponry, all of that facilitated everything that we're seeing now. Everything. Don't get it twisted. I've been to protests. They had gang stalkers in the protests. I've been to protests, anti-racism protests. I've been to anti-racism protests. I've been to Pride. They have gang stalkers in their ranks in there. Do you seriously think they're going to have gang stalkers in their ranks and they're not influencing the political landscape? I bet you any money they had fucking gang stalkers in the other side of the political spectrum too. They had gang stalkers in that motherfucker too. There's no way they didn't. So all the social outrage that's going on in the world right now, everything that's been happening, all of it was infiltrated and controlled and puppeteered from the fucking beginning, leading to this situation that we have now. But it always starts, every time the government want to implement something inhumane that they've already been doing to the fringes of society, they always do it through a humane reason, like with COVID-19, for instance. All the measures that happened after COVID-19, inhumane. COVID-19, humane, because you're trying to save lives, right? But then they exercised legislations that were just utter bullshit, and all they ever did was kill off agriculture, kill off fucking commerce in the high street, kill off like all kinds of industries they've killed off so many industries. And those industries, it will literally take like decades to recover from what's happened in the last 3 years. It will take decades to recover. Last 2 years, I should say, because it's 2021, 2022. So yeah, 2 years. So what's happened in the last 2 years is going to take decades to fucking recover from. We've got hyperinflation. We've got refugees increasingly being sorted into what relevance they have to the UK according to their race and what nation they come from. And we've got racism on the rise, because when resources are scarce, the only choice people really have is to be a pet or cattle. And the thing is, the people on the right side of the equation, they're thinking they're going to be pets when they're really cattle. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just fucking saying, man. Everything that I said was going to happen, everything that multiple targeted individuals said was going to happen is happening. But it's our fault too, because we didn't spend enough time preparing. We spent, because we were in so much pain, All we could think about was the pain we were in and crying out for help to anybody who would listen, or even those who wouldn't listen. That's our fault too. We should have been preparing. We shouldn't have been warning people who didn't want to be warned. If they want to feel better than we are, at the expense of their livelihoods, at the expense of their communities, at the expense of fucking humanity's soul, let them do it. Let them do it. Because everybody knows what's really going on. It's happening already. And then with with nanotechnology everywhere, with nanotechnology introduced in the mix, nanotech has got graphene oxide in it. That's one of the most receptive metals on the planet. What do you think happens when you get human beings combined with nanotech? What do you think happens? Crystallized third eyes. Remember technology needs gold and crystals and like diamonds. I don't know if it's diamonds, but I know that technology uses gems in order to become effective receivers. When that third eye in your brain crystallizes, what does it become? And then what happens to you? But like, I'm not making much sense, but it's going to make sense later. Your third eye crystallizes, it turns into a gem. We know that gems are important in terms of electric conductivity and receiving transmissions. We know that. So if your third eye is crystallized, you can't receive psychic intuition. You can, but it's like it's impaired. So your psychic intuition from your natural body, sensing your natural surroundings, those are impaired. But the combination of nanotech with specific frequency bands, with artificial intelligence, what do you think the natural telepathy and natural clairsentience is going to be replaced with? Artificial telepathy, artificial clairsentience. There's so many different things happening at the same time. And the reason it sounds ridiculous is because it is ridiculous. But that's what the elites do through their networks within networks. They do ridiculous shit. And everybody is just going along with it. Everybody's just going along with it. They're going along with this fucking Rwanda plan. All that's going to happen is people are going to whine and cry about it. And these poor black and brown folks who did nothing except try to seek asylum are going to be sent off to somewhere where the UK looks down its nose at for human rights records. The UK need to be investigated for human rights records. All these countries are corrupt. The only difference between Rwanda and the UK, let me tell you something right now. People love to say that African nations are corrupt. People love to say that shit. Let me tell you the difference between a third world country. Well, Africa's not a third world country. First of all, Africa is a continent and there are so many countries within it. And not all of them are third world, right? This is the difference between a so-called poorer country and a richer one, right? Poorer countries will grasp at whatever they can take. That's the difference. That's the literal difference. It doesn't make them any more corrupt. It doesn't make them any more inhumane. It doesn't make them any more... It's just amateurish. It's just amateurish. Amateurish desperation, that's all that shit is. Rwanda is no fucking more corrupt than the UK. They're probably less corrupt. I don't know much about Rwanda, but they're probably less corrupt than the UK is. Even after all the horrors and atrocities that have gone on down there, which was caused by colonialism in the first place anyway. about human rights abuses. Mr. Johnson, do you want to talk about the human rights abuse of having a literal Holocaust in your country, starting with black and brown folks and mentally ill people? Do you want to talk about that shit? Do you want to talk about having people who obviously are high functioning? Do you want to talk about having high functioning people with jobs in mental health hospital in a bid to get rid of anybody who's a threat to the status quo? Do you want to talk about that shit? Do you want to talk about that shit? Would you like to have a discussion about that shit? Trying to create a gateway to conservatorship abuse so you can take these people's earnings and livelihoods away from them. Do you want to talk about that fucking shit, Mr. Johnson? Why don't you investigate your own fucking country? Why don't we talk about the close ties between the Conservative Party, MI5 and MI6 up until very fucking recently? Let's talk about that shit. Let's talk about that shit. Let's talk about your own country. Let's talk about the corruption in your own back garden. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that you targeting black and brown people in this country isn't even new, and it started the second that my grandparents got here. But Rwanda's corrupt. You're corrupt. Fuck you. And now you want to send black and brown people to the same country that you condemned. You got some fucking nerve, mate. Your government has some fucking nerve. And again, gang stalking contributes to that. I mean, shit, have at it. If that's what you need to do, fine. You need to do all this sex zone crap and facilitate this shit, fine. That's up to you. I know what I'm gonna do, and I'm not gonna talk about it either. I'm done talking. Done fucking talking. Now's the time for action. Hey, what's going on? Targeted Tony LA just joined me. I'll see if I can wave to him. I don't know why Instagram doesn't... Instagram Live is a mess. Hey, baby. I'm trying to wave to you, but it's not working. So I'm just going to send, like, a high hand. Like, there we go. Yeah. I was just talking about yeah. Okay, darling. I was just talking about the UK planning to send asylum seekers to Rwanda. And of course, because of the way my brain works, I connected one thing with another thing, with another thing, and another thing. And basically I came out with Holocaust. I don't know if you heard about that, Tony, but they're sending asylum seekers to Rwanda now, and of course the whole world is in an impotent uproar, because the Tories are gonna go out with that plan no matter what, and nobody ain't gonna do shit about it anyway. So fuck it. Fuck it. Law doesn't apply anymore. We're not in the age where law matters. We're in the age where whoever has the most money is the one that has the final say. And the thing is, the Conservative, yeah, no, I'm going to direct message you that, Tony. No, I'm not making it up. That's exactly what they're planning to do. I'm not making it up. All right, so, you know, we've got to stop pretending like the law matters. We've got to stop pretending like the law matters. When citizens have been kidnapped, by institutionalizations. The law stopped mattering a long time ago. Whoever has the most money, whoever has the most resources has the final say. That's what this is about. It's got nothing to do with law. The law ain't got shit to do with it. It stopped mattering 25 years ago. Probably even like longer than that. It stopped mattering a long time ago. These corrupt government officials need to be tried for treason. They don't care about the law constitution here in America. Economy makes... Well, hang on. No. I can't say economy makes the law. No. Economy makes the law. Economy makes the law in the first place. The law was centered around property. In the first place, law was about property and fucking resources. It was never about people. When it started, it was never about people. That's where we've been lied to. That's where we've been lied to. When the original common law came around, and any law scholars can correct me if I've got this wrong, but where common law started was in, the reason why law began in the first place was to discuss ownership and sovereignty. That's what sovereignty was about. It was about ownership. It was never about the people. There are no legal solutions to gang stalking. Gang stalking is law. Gang stalking is law. It's always been law. It's always been law. Like that, the world is built around two things: enslavement and trade. Gang stalking is law. Look around you. Like the public are narcissistically abused every single day. The public are narcissistically abused every single day. We abuse each other every single day in a bid to play this fucking game that none of us signed up for. Gang stalking is law. It's always been law. It's just that with people like us, it's, the brutality is a bit more obvious and it's a bit more, because we're, I'm going to sound arrogant when I say this, but the reason why our targeting is more obvious is because we are more resistant to being influenced than everyone else. We're more resistant to being corrupted than everyone else is. We're more resistant to that. So that's why we're targeted more than other people. But gang stalking has always been law. This world has always been, like, there was one TI, I'm no longer friends with them, but there's one TI who called it a narcissism. And that person was fucking dead on. Because that's exactly what the society is in general. It's a narcissism. I haven't had one day of peace since being overtly targeted. These bastards even follow me to the cemetery. I couldn't even be alone or at peace at the cemetery. Do you want to hear something sad? When I was going to my grandmother's funeral, there were gang stalkers following the hearse. There were two hearses. Well, no, I was in a car actually. There was a hearse carrying my grandmother and I was in a car with my siblings. And there were gang stalkers following the cars. Let me read your comment. I broke down crying in the parking lot at the cemetery because these two perps wouldn't stop and tried to egg me on. They saw me crying in the car and kept trying to talk to each other and mock me. Tony, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. So I'm going to read it again. Tony says, this is Tony's story. I haven't had one day of peace since being overtly targeted. These bastards even followed me to the cemetery. Couldn't even be alone or at peace at the cemetery. I broke down crying in the parking lot at the cemetery because these two perps wouldn't stop and kept trying to egg me on. They saw me crying in my car and kept trying to talk to me and mock me. I bet they fucking did. Bastards. I have autism too. Asperger's, they have no humanity. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, Tony. I'm sorry. I am truly sorry that happened to you. It's tiring as well. It's draining dealing with that kind of relentless hatred. It's very, very draining. It's very draining. It's very draining. On a personal level, it's draining. Oh, thank you, sweetheart. All right. All right. So, yeah. Thank you, Tony. I wish I could give you a hug. You're going through the most, like TRs go through the fucking most. I swear to God, man. TIs go through the fucking most. You wouldn't be like, some people wouldn't believe the stories that TIs have been through. And don't even get me started on the ones who have been murdered. Do not even get me started. I like, that's such a long conversation. What the fuck happened? What the fuck happened? And all of these little things that we think don't matter, all of this emotional abuse that we think doesn't matter, literally orchestrating a fucking Holocaust right now. It's good, things are going to get worse. It's not just increased racism we've got to worry about, it's increased crime and trafficking as well. Conservative values serve a purpose: to grow prison, psychiatric and industrial complex, and to grow prison, psychiatric and military industrial complexes. That's what conservative values are good for. They certainly don't get anybody paid. They certainly don't get anybody, living happily and comfortably, except for a very select few, because it's a dog-eat-dog philosophy. So that's what we're seeing. That's what we're seeing, and that's what we're going to continue to see. And yeah, there's going to be increased trafficking, because, if more and more things are outlawed, then of course the black market grows, doesn't it? And if the black market grows, then crime grows. And if crime grows, then remember, trafficking is worth hundreds of billions of dollars already. Including arms, including human trafficking. So crime is going to increase. If the prison industrial complexes is going to grow, then crime has to grow in it. No point in heavy policing if there aren't crimes being committed. If there aren't crimes being committed, I apologize. Anyway, I gotta go. So you guys take care of yourselves. I've got to wash my hair. Got to pamper myself. Sun's beautiful outside. I'd say that I might go out, but we all know I'm probably not going to. Because I have to look at these people. I have to look at these fucking people. I don't want to look at these murdering bastards. I really, really don't. I don't feel like it. I should go out for my own sanity and for my own, but I can't. I just can't face it. You're out here facilitating fucking Holocaust and you want to mock me and deride me. Go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves. You don't deserve to live. Yeah, so anyway, I gotta go. I love you, Tony, Targeted Tony, LA. I love you so much. I'm so sorry for what you've been through and what you continue to go through. Again, I wish I could give you the biggest hug. Like you're a real one. Thank you so much. I love all of you TIs. I really do. Like, please understand that I mean that. I really, really do mean that. And I really do appreciate your support. I love you from the bottom of my soul. You guys take care of yourselves on this wonderful, beautiful morning. And we will speak again soon. Bye-bye.